Well, hello everyone. It is Shooter. Of course, welcome to Primary Waves. Of course, at the end of our presentation, please do review our disclosures. Okay, let's start with crypto because we've had a decent pullback. All right, we back tested our April 2021 lows at 59,760, and we've recovered a little bit. Honestly, it looks to me like we just had some profit taking because from the flow that I can see on the exchanges, it seems to be that the buying's continued. Now, I'd like to point out one thing on this tape, at least in RSI. Now, double tops, are quite often indicative of a mound, as far as my own thesis and how they look. So those are always bullish to me. The challenging part here is where my trend support line is, which basically involves this ascending flat to some degree. So if Mr. Market wants to take us down, the 8-day is totally viable here because there really has been no back test here. None of it in here, none. Like I always say, I would rather see 50% back. So when we put in this high, I would have rather come right in and come back to about 45. Right, and then kept going. Same scenario here when we got up here, come back roughly to about 55, then kept going. So if we do back test to about 55K, it's good. But right now, I think my thought, the only problem is we're early in the Elliott wave count. My thought of an intermediate wave 4 around 61,806, and that was 61,333, I believe, is after we put in this 72K. So realize our high was 69,218.0. Now note, it was an even dollar figure again. Now historically, what that means is an interim top or an interim bottom, and we come in back test, and then we retest, aka 49,000 occurred here. So anytime we have zero change on the close, it indicates to me that there were some large sellers who had orders to exit at that price. And that's ultimately what took us down here and what has taken us down here. That doesn't mean that they didn't sell here and buy it back here. That's the challenging part. All right. I want to go and look at some of the ETFs. IBIT, really challenging because of how shallow this chart is. But I would think that we push up just a tad bit from where we are here. But I would like to see a back test of 28. I get real interested on scaling at 29.59. All right. BITO. Now we've been blown past the count here for a couple days. Note we are confirming on this leg here. Right. So now our count has moved up quite a bit from where we were. So we're legging up. It doesn't mean we don't fail. It just indicates that the euphoria, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, is exceeding the fear of loss on the sellers. Okay, so you get both at tops. So and then you end up with this flat that kind of builds out. Let me just give you a little better visual of the upper end flat that I see here. Once our 3 comes in, our 5s are just a little bit higher than that. And, I'm just going to use the wick of that candle. So we'll build out this flag here. And then we're going to decide whether or not this is a primary wave down. Because realize every wave 2 is always a crossroad, always a crossroad. So, I'm predominantly out of positions when I see a wave 2 on my chart, especially a primary. That's my 2 cents. However, it's challenging here. Because we have so much upside. Realize we are still extremely early in Bitcoin. Now, one of the challenges that I saw in the last 48 hours is that the SEC is going back after Coinbase, aka on that securities language. I don't know that contributed to our spook a little bit or our sell. It might have. That actually might have been the sell. The right whale gets the wrong whiff of something and he decides or she decides that they're going to sell. The market is still thin enough where they can just take the wind right out of the sails. But at this point, I think we are heading, up towards that primary wave 2, which should come in right around $34. So some nice upside. So right now, IBIT and BITO should be pretty decent to ride out the storm here a little bit. I think BITO will do better than IBIT. And part of the reasons is because IBIT didn't have any type of backtest. Now, surprisingly, GBTC actually started to outperform a little bit, not as much as BITO, but it surely, we were thinking that it would lose, or I was thinking that it would lose membership or, investors to the other funds. And that seems to have changed a little bit. And we have a much more bullish look longer term if we jump out to the monthly on GBTC. I mean, we've got a count 1 up here, up at 101. So there's still some decent upside. So if you are a holder of GBTC, note drive 1, drive 2, drive 3. I would like it at equality before I really get nervous about a back test. But you want to know where your stops are? Let me come in here and I just want to put that in there because you need to know this. If we break below this, you got to decide whether or not you're going to hold or you're going to trim, because if this breaks, I'm just going to give you just for this breaks. Let me bring in my Fibonacci tool here. This leg right here has done nothing wrong and coming to 50% back. So that's where it gets really challenging up here on the higher side in primary wave 3. So 50% back from where we are. I realize we're at $56. I mean, we've had one hell of a run since our initial primary wave setup at $7.46. And we also have a number of the factors that I look at for divergence and rolling over. Now this, to me, drive 1, drive 2, so drive 3. I really get nervous up around equality, like I'd mentioned in the earlier count. But at the same time, we got a lot of upside here, so that's challenging. I really hope they give us options pretty doggone soon. That's just my thought. All right, want to look at Hood. It's breaking back below the breakout line. I still like it better than Coin. However, Coin's performing better. Clearly it's got more volume, even with the SEC news. Just trying to get my numbers updated as I'm doing this, make sure I'm looking at the right thing. So our minor wave, we've now moved up substantially from where we were based on the count. So now we are looking at, move this thingy back. All right, so we're looking at 221 as our next entry long. So we've broken a little below there. So our minor wave 3 has now moved up to 254.98. So right now, Coin looks better than Hood. All right, now Marathon is just getting slaughtered. I mean, slaughtered. Oh man, how perfect was this? Drive 1, drive 2. And what do I say on drive 2? Trim, sell, buy back the cash secured puts, whatever, trim. Oh, I just don't like taking the heat. That's it. I'd rather book some profits, find something else to enter next. That's sort of my mindset. All right, let's look at Riot. Now, Riot really hasn't done much. It might not be because it's considered not to be necessarily a clean business. So now Bitfarms getting slaughtered too. But I didn't point out the drive 2, but we had the drive 2 on that as well. Drive 1, drive 2, divergence up here, right? Confirmed high, divergent high. We got that rollback 1. So that was mound 1. Got up here, a lower high in RSI and a higher high in price. So we started mound 2, boom, 2 drive, breaking down to, looking at maybe 229. And I like it to buy that puppy back. I really do. I wish to God they'd give me options. I need options. I really need options. Somebody call somebody and get me some options. Oh, this is tough. It's challenging for me because I don't like futures, man. Some of my biggest places I've gotten smoked is in futures. So I don't like being a future. I really don't. Got too much on and it's 24/7 and I stand up when I have big positions. I can't sleep. All right, so, Bitfarms off of that 229. I like it again for a shot. Now, note that we're breaking below our trend support here. We just put a little line up there. So, I'm looking at this as grouping 2 here, and really this is grouping 2, so we could extend to the 200. If miners are getting clobbered, it could go right here to 172. Just keep that in mind. All right. And, Hive really has done nothing either. All right. Let me jump over to indices. Dollar flat to lower, so, I'm surprised we sold off as much as we did with that candle today in the S&P. All right. So now let's look at the S&P. My number this morning that I published in chat was 504.47. Basically, we printed that. Look at this. How perfect was that? 504.92. I'm within 50 cents. God, I'm good. All right, let's look at the NASDAQ. Okay, so now we pushed a little below the count on this puppy. Count hasn't, it's telling me we're getting a minor wave. Might continue, so we might gap. I don't think gap too much. 431, $4. So I'm getting 431.16 as our low. Really hasn't adjusted anything else. This would be the perfect spot for us to break, though. Now we've broken this inside. Let me just see what else is next. So, our challenging part right now is we don't have a lot until 392 on the NASDAQ. So, if we broke down right here, it would flush down to 374.30. So that brings us back to our November 2021 resistance line at 391.20. So we break below the 50-day, you're going to look for at least 50% back, which is at 403.88. Just, as a heads up. All right. I mean, we could get it here. We have, if you look at the structure, right? Mound, 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 mound. What do we do? Mound, put in a base, right? Right. What do we got here? Mound, mound. Except for this is much more aggressive. So that would mean that this ABC, right? I'm going to steal it, move it over here. Hold on a second. Didn't quite steal it well. I'm not a good thief. All right. So ABC, look how perfect that brings us right back down to that 399. Man, I just love it when things match. All right, let's go to the Dow. Now we got this is just chop right here. Chop, 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 chop. And then we get this push to 399, and then we're going to get a back test much deeper here. So now I can see that the Dow is going to roll over. So I'm going to throw something up here. If you're in the Dow, probably should have thrown it in here earlier, but I'm going to say some covered calls here. If you're holding, I'm just going to say do some 400s if you're going to hold it till this number right back down there. I just like that number. All right, let's go look at the Russells. Now, the ironic thing is this is holding up pretty doggone well, but I think we're about done. I've said that for a while now. Notice this downtrend that we have coming in here. So it's an overshoot. We have our confirmed high here, right? In this grouping, right? Confirmed. Divergent. So this is a divergent high. So that's a 2, right? So, I would say, grab a couple puts on this and just use this, I think, because it's going to roll over if the NASDAQ rolls over. So we're going to have all 4 indices red if we get some continuation. Let me go back to the SPY here a second. I mean, we're not in trouble by any means in the SPY. We've done nothing wrong here. We're just building out this wedge, ascending wedge, but we're going to roll over. What do ascending wedges look like? They just come in and they like to do this. So it likes to come in and it's going to come off here. That's what it's going to do. Sooner or later, it's going to do it. All right, let's look at TLT. Well, I think the consensus is in. When I said, yep, 94 something, looks like it's going to break out to me. Well, I think it's breaking out. So if we didn't chase it, wait for a 4 at 94.94 and give it a shot there. And then plan to scale a little bit lower. I'm going to put another label in there. Put my Bollinger Bands up here, see where we're at. And we got a lot of room there. We're not even at 50% back. That's pretty euphoric right at the moment. Right now, they're expecting this right here. This is telling us that the Fed is going to cut rates. That's what this is telling us right here. It's telling us the Fed is going to cut rates. And there's going to be another label, a little bit lower than that, right around that 91, third entry. Just going to move this out so it looks clean. But right now, I'm just going to tell you, it's squeezing. What's squeezing do? It really is challenging here until we get above this trend resistance here, this right here, this line. And just to be quick, I'm not going to just put the price there. So we got to get up above 96.90. So 96.90, if you don't have a full position size on, I would do it there. All right, that's my thought. What else did I want to go through? Okay, open interest. ENPH, flat to nothing, but it's still there, hasn't taken us out. Okay, ZBRA, actually it's not doing too bad. Just poked its head above the breakout line. In today's sell-off, it held up pretty well, as far as I'm concerned. So, continue to accumulate, I would say, on both. Now, SSC, next entry is going to come in right down here, right about where we are. I mean, we sort of got smoked on that one. But at the same time, it's always been emotional for the upside. So our next entry long would be at 66.71. And none of the counts to the upside have changed. So it's still in play in my book. All right. Now, I wanted to look at beyond. It actually held up pretty good here. It's not really euphoric to the upside, but, it's holding its own. A little toppy here as far as RSI, a little toppy on the daily. Weekly, we got plenty of room up here because this is, I still like it. We got another line coming up here, which is consistent with the count as far as looking at that number. So, that's a nice move up there, $140 from $34, which is the way I like to set up. Bros, oh my gosh. Ooh, did I nail that or what? I think the breakout line was actually right here at that $28, I think it was. Yeah, I think so. I don't actually have it on my chart. I'm terrible. But hey, and we got some noise here. We got another breakout line coming above this. So, it's a pretty beautiful thing. Oh, and the ironic thing is some retailers have done really well. So, this is, Starbucks has done really well for me over the years. And, it's got that FOMO. And, I got the same thing going to Bros. Plus they're I like chai lattes, and their chai latte is pretty good. It's not real sweet like Dunkin' Donuts is, or I like it. So hey, that works for me. But hey, I think we got some upside here. So maybe I don't know that I would enter at 30. Okay, but we get any kind of back test to this channel support, which I don't think we do. I think we break out, get it, put a high in here, somewhere in between this one, somewhere between here and 35, 34.98. We'll hit some resistance right there. Just like we hit, you see the resistance here? There's like a resistance band there. Oh, actually, let me bring in the band, give you my visual. My 2 cents on this band. So we're going to have a resistance band here, extend left, boom. So you notice how that's been our common price zone? That's why I like it back to 35, because I think it's got a good shot of getting back there, just as far as visual. Well, that's what I have today, folks. Sorry for being too long. Great trading. Until next time.